Oh, that's good. Okay, I have to start over. The rest of you are going to have to guess at the first 30 seconds there. Anyway, what makes it challenging, at least for me, is the fact that I resist it. My resistance to the truth of it. Our own, or my own, yeah buts. Does anybody have any yeah buts? I believe it's the yeah buts that we hold and have and repeat the yeah buts to our own wholeness, to our own divinity that make us forget them. It's like Marianne Williamson in her thing she wrote that most people attribute to Nelson Mandela because he used it in one of his speeches. He said, it's our light, she said, it's our light, not our darkness that we fear the most. And I would say perhaps it's our light, not our darkness, that we resist the most. So another wonderful ally that we could all pick up on this spiritual journey is something that we can call non-resistance. And it's interesting to me that we don't even have a word for it without non. Do we? We don't have a positive word for it. And I wish we did. Because I don't know about you, but I have found it much easier to grow or to evolve by actually doing something than by trying to not do something. So I'm not going to stand here and tell you to not resist. Or I'm not going to tell you to start non-resisting. But I don't know what to tell you because we don't have a word. So I'm going to borrow a phrase from Jesus. Maybe we can turn the other cheek. Because, again, I will not presume to know what he was talking about exactly there, but I don't believe he was saying if you get struck on the cheek, say, you want to hit this one harder. I don't think he was suggesting that we become passive, or we resign, or we give up, or we submit. Turn the other cheek, to me, is a strong reminder that there's another aspect of our consciousness around here somewhere. And if we got triggered, struck on one level of consciousness, we don't want to react to that at the same level of consciousness that we got struck. Are you with me here? One of my longest standing mantras has been, there's another cheek around here somewhere. I don't know where your minds went there. There's a more grounded cheek. There's a more loving cheek. There's a more accepting cheek around here somewhere. Are you with me? And you have one too. This is good. And yeah buts are not the only way, I think, that our resistance shows up. It could show up as shame or blame for ourselves. It could show up as defensiveness or overwhelm or stop me if if this doesn't resonate, right? It could be hopelessness. It could be feeling separate or alone. Has anybody ever been in any of these places? It could show up as arguing with what is. Has anybody had a lot of success arguing with what is? Or obsessively trying to figure out why some bit of schmutz happened. Has anybody spent part of their life doing that? But regardless of the form, Juliet, as the Borg always said on Star Trek, resistance is futile. It's futile. We probably have some hope that it's going to put out the fire, but it never puts out the fire, does it? In fact, if you know anything about electricity, resistance causes what? Heat. More heat. More heat. It's futile. It's futile if we hope to find the other cheek. Okay, so when we resist, it's really important to realize that we shut the door. We shut the door to our resources. We shut the door to our wholeness. We shut the door to our heart. And we minimize our chances in that moment to remember the truth of our being, to remember love. There's another cheek around here somewhere. Turning the other cheek means to freely and easily, and maybe with a little bit of a smirk or a smile or some joy, turn to that other part of our consciousness that always knows we are whole, that always knows we are enough, that always knows there's an answer or a solution, that always knows there's a possibility, that always knows, as Laura said, our just rightness. I really like that, Laura. Like Goldilocks. Just right. Yeah. I don't ever find just right here. I don't ever find just right when I resist. How about you? It's like, there's an old story about a guy in a well. He's stuck down in the well, and the water's up to here. And all you hear him gurgling is, I hope it doesn't rain. And the ladder is right there. Can we relate to that? And the ladder is our God self. The ladder is our heart. The ladder is always right there. The island of peace in our soul is right there. But most of the time, if not, again, talking about myself, I'm like, I hope it doesn't rain. I hope this person doesn't say that again. I hope the world doesn't do that again. I hope people start cooperating. The ladder's right here. Yeah. Because again, I don't know about you, but when I get to that island of peace in my soul, regardless of what's going on out here, I have automatically a more effective, a calmer, a more grounded attitude of mind. If there's something I need to do, I can do it effectively. I can do it from a place of fullness, of just rightness. When I find that island of peace in my soul, I can remember my light and I can show up. I can show my strongest, I'm not going to hit this again. I can show my strongest and most loving cheek to the world. Wouldn't you like that? And to myself. Non-resistance, for lack of a better word, allows us to be more accepting of what is. To see the facts of life from the highest point of view, which was Emerson's definition for prayer. And again, then we can take the most effective, loving action, even if that's not taking an action. How many of you still believe you can control events? How many of you still think you can control other people? Nobody's saying yes to that. Well, congratulations. Well, we can't. We cannot. But we can always choose the level of consciousness from which we deal with events and other people. Should I repeat that? We can't control them, but we can look at them from maybe a different place. Has anybody ever done that? Have you ever looked at a situation and say, well, I can't change the situation, so I'm challenged to change me? And I change my outlook, or I change my attitude, or again, even better, turn the other cheek, get into my heart, get into that island of peace in my soul. Doesn't everything look different from there? The ladder's right there. Yeah. And though we don't have a word for non-resistance, we have the capacity for it. Do we not? Everybody do this. Every one of you, every one of us, regardless of how resistant we've been, no matter how stiff our neck might be from not turning the other cheek, we can still do it. Look. And the more we do it, and the more easily we do it, and the more we do it without judgment and without question, man, we'll be turning our neck around like an owl. I don't know if that's a great thing, but yeah. Anyway, it's for me, yes, we all have the capacity for it, because essentially what non-resistance to me is giving ourselves love. Even giving our craziness love. Even giving our resistance love. And then it's not resistance anymore. It's just a little interesting tidbit. So again, non-resistance I can describe that as going with the flow with great love. Can we do that? Man, it's fun. Let's just be careful which flow we go with. Okay? Because I don't know about you again, but I have at least 2 flows going on in my consciousness. I have what I call a head flow, which you could call a world flow, or a mundane flow, or a crazy flow, or egocentric flow, whatever you want to call it. Somehow, over the course of my life, it has become a lot easier to go with that flow, even though it's bumpy and chaotic and often not fun. Right? So when you're in that flow and you realize you're getting bounced around and it doesn't feel good, there's another cheek around here somewhere. There's another flow around here somewhere that goes right along with that cheek. There's a more loving flow. There's a calmer flow. There's a flow in my heart that contains possibilities. That contains those feelings of just rightness and enoughness. More than enoughness. It's there. So, let's keep on keeping on, shall we? Because the more we practice this, the more we practice turning the other cheek, again, the looser our neck gets. Right? And the more we consciously and intentionally put ourselves in that other flow, that gentler flow, that more loving flow. By the way, does this sound horrible to anybody? If you want excitement, get in a raft and go down the American River. Okay? The rest of the time, maybe it would be advantageous, it would be more joyful, it would be a lot more peaceful to get yourself in the other cheek's flow. That flow of love. That flow in which we feel connected, we feel whole, we feel peaceful, we feel on top of things. This is not horrible. It might feel weird not to be in that bumpy, chaotic flow. Check it out. Check it out. You may like it. Even though we're all addicted to drama to some degree. It's just the way our brains are wired. That's why it's easier sometimes to get into that bumpy flow. Don't be fooled. There's another cheek. Resistance is indeed futile, and non-resistance is fertile. How's that? Because non-resistance is the most fertile ground that we have in our consciousness to cultivate and to grow ourselves into our vision, into our dreams. Fertile. I don't want any more children, but I would much prefer fertile to futile. How about you? All right, well, now let's close our eyes for a moment. And quickly, once again, find that flow, that island of peace in our soul. And we make an intention right now as we thank you, sweet Spirit, for always being there when we get there. We make an intention to abide on this island. To turn the other cheek to it as often as we need to, until it becomes our default location. And yes, we cannot control events or people, but we can establish a strong, loving, grounded position to look at it all and see the facts of life from the highest point of view. Yeah, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you for that, Stu. That was a perfect message for what's going on out there. So thank you for that. And just to let you know, you can listen to that replay